Dennis, thank you so much for joining me in this talk today. Very relevant also for what occurred yesterday in Yemen. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Adi. Just to start a little bit about what happened yesterday and the connection to Africa, and I think that's extremely important. I think that in the end of the day, when Israel focused in the past on the Iranian threat, it was mainly on its activity in the Middle East and, of course, its nuclear activity. But today, as we see what happened yesterday, it's obvious that we need to look at the larger picture. And the larger picture is that Iran is working through its proxies to expand its influence, not only in the Middle East. For example, the Houthis, the famous Houthis, actually are working in the last month in Africa, near what we call the Bab-el-Mandeb Straits from the African side in Somalia, to increase the threat on Israel maritime activity near the Bab-el-Mandeb Strait, but not only against Israel. Mm-hmm. So in that regard, when we talk about Africa, it's not something that it's far-fetched, that it's nice to have in also many ways. It's really the need, it's connected to the need of Israel and international community to look at the broader picture when discussing the Iranian threat, and the Houthis and what's happening today with their activity in Africa is an important example for it. The Iranians understand the need to support the Houthis. They earn a couple of things from supporting them. First, they can use them in order to counter their biggest rivalry in the region, Saudi Arabia. But also they can now, as we can see, since the war, since the start of the war, what we call the war with Hamas in Gaza, we see that the Iranians are using the Houthis in order to attack Israel and are actually trying to force Israel to stop the war against Hamas and thus saving Hamas.
With this clear interest of creating a ring of fire, around Israel.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Exactly. It's a part of the ring of fire against Israel. And in order to do so, the Iranians actually send strategic capability to the Houthis, not only UAVs, but surface-to-surface missiles. Mm-hmm. But not only that, because it's very hard to transfer this kind of capabilities because of the logistical problem that it's, or when you're looking at actually the map between to transfer arms between Iran and Yemen, it's a logistical, let's say, challenge in not so many ways, whether you will transfer that through sea or through Oman. Mm-hmm. That is why they actually move to what we call the production of indigenous capabilities, meaning that the Houthis are producing themselves these kind of capabilities, or most of these capabilities, and thus allowing them.
It was an improved Iranian UAV.
Exactly, with the help of good for officers that actually are based in Yemen itself. Mm-hmm. So actually what we have today, we have a terror group that has strategic capabilities that can actually threat not only Israel or not only Israeli cities, but also Bab-el-Mandeb Strait, that actually is an important geographical place in terms of allowing the maritime movement to go between Asia and Africa, and from there to Europe.
So what are the fundamental interests of Iran in Africa? We know that Iran is all over. Why Africa? Why strategically this region threatens so much Israel?
Again, an important question. I think that when I wrote the article, the main thing was to highlight that, and of course how we relate to your important question. But first, I want to say something that also I mentioned at the beginning of our podcast. At the end of the day, we cannot focus on the Iranian threat only by understanding what they're doing on the nuclear side or in the Middle East. Because when the Iranians look at the world, they look at the entire world. When Ibrahim Raisi, the late Ibrahim Raisi, elected to be president of Iran, he understood that in his own view, the future of Iran lies in enhancing this cooperation with the global South. China, India, but also Africa and Latin America. And in order to do so, he actually traveled to those continents and actually instructed the Iranian system to enhance the political and diplomatic cooperation with these countries. So that is an important element as its own. But for that, added another important aspect, and what we call the Iranian conventional proliferation, meaning that the Iranians now have the capabilities, mainly UAVs, that actually they can sell to countries that nobody else is selling those capabilities, mainly in Africa and other continents. And they can use that in order not only to get economical benefits, but also to increase their political influence on those countries. Sudan is an important example for.
آنچه در مورد ما میگویند